Oh my God, you actually caught me laughing. Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. My name is Cozy Stone, and what we do here every week is we showcase parents who are producing responsible adults. And if you would inhale and please exhale, we'll be right back with my guest for today.
Cozy Stone is a multi talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Where is the pretty lady? Please welcome to our show today, Christi Bobo. How are you today, Miss Bobo?
I am fabulous, Miss Cozy. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. And I learned a few things about you just then, so that's great.
Oh, all right. Well, I cry every time I watch that video, so it's okay. It is okay. Before we get started, I like to tell my audience something that they already know. Parenting does not come with a manual on best practices of how to raise a child. The perfect parent does not exist. Most importantly, this show is not at all about parent shaming. If some of you, hopefully, what you'll take from this show are some things that you're doing that aren't working, or some things that you'd like to apply that may get you the results that you're looking for from your child or from your parenting experience. So again, what we do, if you've watched this before, we ask our guests something about her background, and then we get into questions that she's chosen that'll tell us much more about. I did a strawberry about about her parenting. I try to stay serious, by the way.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is, what part of the country were your parents from, and how old were they when you were conceived?
So my background is I am a Southern peach, Georgia peach by heart. Both of my parents were born and raised in Georgia for generations. I think my mom was roughly about 25 when she had me, and my dad about 29.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. So we had the mature parents. So did you lose your accent, or did you never have it? Your
I
drawl.
definitely have it, and depending on who I'm around is when it comes out. So it comes and goes depending on who I'm talking to.
I can see you being a peach, but I don't see. I never hear the drawl, so I wouldn't have put that together. But a peach you are, but we'll move on from there.
Thank you.
Now, and where were you born? Oh, Georgia. You were born in Georgia as
I was
well?
born in Georgia as well, yes. So my grandmother, my mom, myself, we all went to the same high school. So we literally grew up in this small town in Georgia that's now a huge town, but at the time was a very small town. So I grew up
And
there.
what's it called?
Roswell, Georgia.
Okay. I think I've heard of Roswell.
So it's north of Atlanta.
Okay, that's why. Now, how old were you when you had your first child?
My first, I was 21.
And when you met how long did you know your partner before you both decided that you wanted to have children with each other?
So let's see, we dated for about 2 years, then we got married, and then we had her about 2 years later. So about 4 years, I guess.
Okay. Christi, I like to ask my, especially female, both guests, male and female guests. So when you met this person, you may not initially thought, or did you, this would be the person I'd like to have children with? Did that fall into place?
No, because I had no intention of getting married or having children. When when you're a kid and you're a teenager and you're like, this is what I want to do with my life. I wanted to be a career woman. Neither of those came into play until I met my husband. I'm like, I could do that, So I really didn't think about the children part of it either until he's like, yeah, we should have kids. And I'm like, all right, that sounds good. Why not?
Oh, it was his suggestion.
It was. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And were you already married when this conversation came about?
Yes.
So
Yeah, we've been married.
you had planned pregnancies.
We did, yes.
Okay. All right. So he persuaded you to go in his direction. Was it his beauty, his brawn, or his brains? What one of his qualities did you see in this man that not only did you want to be a life partner with him, but you wanted to have children with him?
Oh, that's a good question. He is actually probably, first of all, he's my best friend. So we love to just hang out together. He's so funny. He's hysterical. He's really smart, but he won't let you know that. So it probably was not that attracted me. He was super cute. I had all of these big qualifications when I'm like, okay, I'll marry this guy. Has to be taller than me, wear a suit to work, and wear a nice watch. Those were my 3 qualifications. Probably should have had a few more looking back, but it's worked out so far. It's been good.
Okay, but those are external qualities.
Right.
What were some qualities? And maybe I think I'm finding out I'm one of the few people that think on the inside out instead of the outside in. So you did just say something major. You said he was very smart.
Yes.
When you're having children, women are having children, is this not some of the things that you think about? Obviously you did not want a man who wasn't uneducated, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. Who was raised well.
Mm-hmm.
Was he like yourself raised with both of his parents?
Yes. He had 2 of the most amazing parents in the world who became my in-laws and were absolutely like, his mom is like the perfect mom and grandmother. So if you say there's not a perfect parent, she was as close as you could get.
Good. So you get this news, you have this well-tailored man, if you will.
Right.
You go to the doctor. Did you do a pregnancy test or did you find out from the doctor?
Well, we actually got pregnant. We decided that we were going to have kids. And so I said, well, knowing me, because I'm that 1%, it'll take me forever to get pregnant. It took me 24 hours. I woke up the next morning, throwing up, morning sickness, the whole 9 yards. So I almost immediately knew. I did the home pregnancy test, but yeah, we almost immediately knew.
And even with that, again, it's planned, you're adults, mm-hmm. You're ready, you're able, you're willing. Was there a moment where fear or fantasy kicked in?
No, I don't think so. Because I'll tell you a little bit, we got pregnant with that baby. And then a few months later, we actually lost that baby. So that was when I think the fear came in when I was pregnant with my daughter, because she was our second pregnancy. I had that fear of what if we lose this one? So I think that would probably be the fear factor that came in for me for that.
And when I asked that question, that's a question in, oh my God, this is real. Mm-hmm. And all of what it's yeah. That's what the show is about. Right. For those who either just became a parent, maybe thinking of being a parent, not realizing they're going to be a parent. Mm-hmm. These are the real things that goes on through your head that you may not readily think about. And the fantasy part is there are a lot of probably more young girls than not, maybe some older ones, that they just think about, I'm going to have this little baby. I'm going to go to the shower and say, ooh, ah, ooh. I don't want to go to another baby shower the rest of my life if I don't have to. Ooh, ah, ooh. I'm done with ooh, ah, ooh. Right? But it accompanies the idea of giving birth to this little person. Right. So that's why I asked, was it fear or fantasy?
I think it was more like I didn't know. And I'm one of those where I was so busy at the time, I didn't really have time to think about it. I was going to school full time. I was working full time. We'd been married a short period of time. I really didn't have time to think about it, other than I was like, I got to hurry up and get out of school because I can't be a mom and be in school and do all this stuff at the same time. So it was more like the fundamental survival than it was a fear or, a fantasy of, oh, this is going to be great. I just was like, let's get through this and get ready for her to get here, before she does. So I didn't really think a whole lot about that.
Okay. Maybe it's just me. I would have fear and fantasy. More fear than fantasy. So here you are. And you did say he was born in the same town, did you?
Yes. He
Okay.
was in Norcross, so 10 minutes away from where I was.
All right. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if he lived next door to you his whole life.
Right.
You both came from two different households.
Mm-hmm.
You both had two different parenting and raisings. What were some of the same, and you choose this, same or different aspects of your rearing that you discussed before your child came into the world?
Oh, we were supposed to go through all that. We just kind of winged it. We was kind of like, but we actually came up with, we were very blessed in that we had both parents. So both of us had both parents our entire life. So we were very blessed in that respect. Not everybody has that blessing.
Mhm.
We also were brought up in the South where everything was very much, you do what you say you're going to do. It was very much, a religious background as well. We're both Christians. And so we had that, church upbringing as well, and doing the right thing and being a good person and helping other people. So those were very, very similar. We had a little bit of differences in that, my parents worked really hard, not that his didn't, but they worked really hard. Both of them worked, but they were also there for us as well. And his mom had, the joy, I guess I say that joy. He was a little terror, but joy and pleasure of being at home with him. So she got to be kind of a stay-at-home mom, cooking, making cookies and things like that, where mine was working at the same time. So that was probably a little bit of a difference there for us.
Okay. And you answered two of the other questions with that one answer. So, and you may have answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can you give me three things? I'll ask it again, that you considered before giving birth, off the top of your head. So we're going to have this kid. We already know we're responsible. We're educated. What I just would imagine there are things to be considered, and I don't care who you are, where you are, color, creed, religion, or money. Can you tell me three things that you considered, good or bad, before giving birth?
Okay. I think one of the main priorities that we had was, how are we going to have this child and not have to put them in a daycare situation? That was one of our biggest concerns, because I said, I don't want to do that. My mother never did that to me. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that luxury, but I said, what are we going to do? So we sat down and figured out, he has a very stable career. What jobs could I do and still be able to take her with me, or, not have to leave her, or we had family around. So that was a very, very key thing that we considered. Secondly, we considered that we wanted to raise them to be, their own independent people. We didn't want to make them into what we were or who we were. We wanted them to be themselves. That was very important for both of us, to let them be who they are. And the third one, we just hoped and prayed that we did everything that we could right. And we, like you said, they don't come with a manual. So it was like, just do the best we can. That was kind of our goal.
Well, that's wonderful, because you just answered one of the questions I asked you above, and it's all right. Somehow my questions are pretty duplicative, but if I don't get the answer out of one, I get the answer out of the other. And again, just to summarize what we know about your background, your parents did have you in childbirth. You planned your kids, you were mature, you and your mate decided to have a family, you considered everything that it took. You had a background, you had that village to help you raise.
Right.
You considered some of the biggies of how and why you wanted, and what you wanted from being a parent and from your child. These are huge principles in raising and giving birth to a child. And I just want the audience to hear, again, didn't matter if you did or not, but those of you who may be listening and are thinking about it, it's a big deal. Would you agree, having a child is a big deal?
You have no idea how big it is until you actually have them. And then you realize you're responsible for a whole nother person. So yeah, it's a huge deal.
It is. And I'm trying to get a show. I want my February show to be all people like myself who did realize it, and did not do it because we knew all of these answers. We looked at it, we saw it, we dissected it, and said out and out, no way, Jose. And there are, and I think we're to be applauded, quite frankly.
Yeah. I admire you. I do. I really do.
We made that conscious decision. And so again, this show is about those of you who have. And so I do thank you. I'm going to thank you throughout the show. So let's get to your first question. I think you answered this, but I'm going to ask you anyway because you chose this one. So were you prepared mentally, emotionally, and or financially to be a parent? Which one of the three?
None of the above. I mean, truly, because, and I always say this to people that are thinking about having kids, or we'll do it when we do this, or we do it with this. You're never really going to be prepared, and you just have to jump in. Yes, you can kind of, have a job and have a home and a few things like that in place, from the financial standpoint, but you're never, quote, fully prepared. Yes, I think we were married, we had a place to live, we kind of had it together, we thought we did. But are you technically ready? No, you're not ready, because you don't really know what all goes into being a parent until they arrive. And I think it was kind of funny. My husband, the first night we brought my daughter home, he stayed up all night and was staring at her. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what do we do now? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea, So it's like they don't come with a book. You just have to figure it out. And we had some great moms, that were grandmas to support us and kind of give us some tips. But it was I think that moment, that first night, that we realized we really don't know what we're doing. We really don't.
See, there's the question of fear or fantasy. I need to put that in the 40 questions and take it out of the next questions. All right, your next question is you wanted me to ask you, what made you or makes you a successful parent?
I think there's a couple things that, and I've had the joy to go back and actually look at it and kind of ask my own kids, which has been great. A couple things that, number one, I did not give up. It didn't matter what was going on. You just cannot give up. You have to figure out what's going to work for that child, what's going to work to make them the best person. And my expectations. I expect a lot. And I'm sure that my children will tell you that I expect too much sometimes. But I expect a lot. My expectations were, you're going to be, the kid I can take to the restaurant. You're going to be the kid I can take to the movie theater. You're going to be the kid that can go anywhere and people won't even know you're there almost because you're being that well behaved. So I had very, very high expectations. And I also was kind of trial and error. You just have to figure out, like I said, you try something and be willing to change it. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work, adapt to what your kid how they work and how they think and how they learn and how they react. So you just have to be willing to just kind of, work with them.
I like the answer of what your expectations were and that you carried them forward. Mm-hmm. I believe some of what's going on today is that parents are allowing the child to lead. And then your second answer was just as well. You still wanted them to have their own mind, their own personality, and you could work with it. But first and foremost, it's your way or the highway because you know better.
Right.
And in terms of going to a restaurant that's keen, or going to a grocery store, going shopping, and sometimes you go out and see these little things laid out on the ground and you just want to go over and wring their necks. That's maybe it's just me. That is something to make clear as an expectation.
Right.
So and again, I love everybody's answers to come on here, and I don't have to tell you this. Every answer is the right answer because it's yours. I'm ingratiated by all of you who are coming on here and what I'm learning, especially those of you who I know well and know why you're like you are. And if I met your kids, I'm sure I'd love your kids. Yes. Just because you represent what you would create.
Right.
Right. All right. The next question. Well, this is the first time. What did you learn from baby number one that you apply to baby number two?
Well, the very key thing that I learned from baby number one is that baby number one and baby number two are not the same people. You can't apply what you learned from one to number two. They are two completely different. Now, I had a boy and a girl, but besides that, completely different people. So you have to take their personality and their style and figure all of that out. So you can't really apply one to the other.
Well, yeah, but in a way, I mean, as a parent, let's not give them personalities quite yet. Let's talk between maybe birth and at least 9 months old.
Okay.
You're a new parent. What did you do? And parents tell me this all the time. That's why I put this question in there. There are things they did with baby number one where they maybe panicked more, like you said, he sat and watched that baby the first night. Did he sit and watch the second baby when it came home?
No, he did not actually.
There we go.
Yeah. So yes, I will say we definitely learned that they will kind of survive on their own.
That's what that question is intended for.
Okay.
Okay. The next question is, I like this one too. I like them all. They're my questions. Of course, I like them all. Did you know your children's friends?
That one I picked because that was one of my absolute priorities. Was I was going to know everybody you were around, all of your friends, who you were hanging out with. I made sure that our house was the house that people wanted to come to, because I wanted to see what was going on. And, we know this even as adults. You learn now, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around. And I was very, very adamant about knowing who they were hanging out with, getting to know them, getting to know their families, what their expectations were for their parents. And all of the kids knew if they came to my house, I was going to treat you like my own kid. So you were going to be expected to behave like I expected my children to behave. So, and we only had over almost 28 years of all their friends. I only had one incident where it was like, this is just not a good choice. You need to pick somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you actually have, I know you did, when you had that conversation with them, how did they react?
They knew it. It was my daughter. It was one of her friends, and she knew it, and she knew it was coming. She's the type, though, that would, take in everybody and thinks everybody, and I get that, and I understood that, and we tried, but sometimes it just, that one particular, but that was the only time. Other than that, we have, they've made some great choices. A lot of them still are my kids to this day. And they'll, I'll get Mother's Day cards and messages and stuff from them, and they all come over and they still call me Mama Bo. So they're all my kids too. So. And
you, of course, knew their parents.
Yes, that was a top priority.
And are you still in touch with most of their parents today as well?
Yeah, we are. A lot of social media kind of stuff, because we're not in the same state with a lot of them. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I do like that question. Things you taught your children, and I put respect, thankfulness, honesty. If there's something that's not in there, you can take one of those, 2 of those, all 3 of those. That was not most important to you, but it's part of the development of character. Respect, thankfulness, and honesty.
I think it's kind of a mix between a couple of them, between respect and honesty, because I've always taught them to tell the truth. I don't care what it is, we'll figure it out. But if you don't tell me the truth, I can't help you. And they, will always tell me way more than I want to know, probably, but they told me everything. And I told them, you can do anything you want to do, but you got to do it all in. You got to be, respectful of everybody around you, and you have to be honest about what you're doing. Those 2 things I think are probably very important for me.
And so you can say without a doubt, your children have been honest with you, especially through the teenage years.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it took them a minute or 2 to tell me all of the story, and some of them, 6 months down the road, but they knew that I knew that they were lying to me. So, we all knew what was going on, and I have to give them their time to tell me too. I had to give them the opportunity to come clean and tell me what was going on, even though they knew I knew, but they had to actually say it too. So
wow,
they were really good.
Okay. And that comes with just having a young brain and trying to figure out, did I outslick my parent, or did I outsmart my parent? And see, that's again, but me being a parent, I didn't ever let that go 5 seconds. It's like, all right, I know it. Let's get it off your chest. You'll sleep better at night. I promise you, you're going to sleep better. I'm going to sleep better, but I can't sit here and know you're not telling me the truth. So again, this is why I didn't. And the things that people out there can learn, they're selling them. If you do it right and make it very clear that I know, and I think that's important to tell kids. I do, as you know, I do humorizational speaking in the schools. And I say that to children. I said, let me assure you of something. Your parents always know when you're lying. I said, I promise you they do. They were already in your shoes. We tried it. We didn't get away with it. We expect you to try it because nothing else. Your young mind thinks you know better. And our more mature minds know we know better.
Right. And I was lucky in that my husband was quite a little mischievous guy. So he knew a lot more than I did about what the options were. So he knew more than I did. But we always told them, I said, we're asking the question, we already know the answer. This is your opportunity to give us the answer.
Wow. All right. That's right in the face.
Yeah, it is.
All right. You're don't lie. We know already. Okay. And so your last question is, what are you most proud of your children?
So obviously I have two, and they're very different. So my daughter, I have to say, I've always taught her to do anything you want to do, whatever you do it all out. And she does that. And she lives with her full heart. She loves with a full heart. She will think the best of every single person that she is around. She would literally buy the doll that was missing a leg because she said, you know what, that one needs a home too. So she really does accept people for who they are, which I love about her. She will take anybody and help them and teach them and make them her friends. So she was really good about that. And then my son, I would have to say my favorite characteristic, or what I'm most proud of him, is his perseverance, because he has been given some challenges in life. He is an athlete, but he would be up at the crack of dawn working on what he wanted to do. He never missed a practice. He never missed a game. He was always, whatever he decided to do, he did it all in. And that's what I told him. I was like, if you're going to be, a garbage man, you're going to be the best garbage man out there. And he took that to heart, and he applied that and has always given 100%. Now, if he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it. But if it's what he wants to do, he is all in to do that.
Wow. I'm telling you, one day I'm just going to just float off this chair. It does my heart good. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It feels good to know that there are so many, let me say it again, out there, parents who are putting the pedal to the metal. The perseverance, the patience, the learning, the teaching, the learning from the child, what to give to each and every different child. The awareness is probably the best word. And then after awareness is the acceptance. Again, they don't come perfect, you don't come perfect. And so how do you mesh these human beings under one roof?
Right.
And then it's like a flower, and then they sprout out, and here's all the water you put on this flower, and you watch it bloom.
It's absolutely amazing. That's when I say you're never prepared. It's unreal to watch. Especially, like they're out of the house, and they're on their own, they're being their own humans. And I've always told them, as you do what you're doing, don't worry about everybody else, worry about you, because you are going to grow and you are going to be successful at your own pace and at God's pace, and whatever happens there, you just do your very best. And they've done that. And it's absolutely a gift to watch.
I didn't ask this question, but it's perfect timing to ask. So now they're out the house. When you were growing up, all of us, I like to say, we hear our parents. They gave us words of wisdom. What were they that you gave your kids that you're pretty confident that they're now using while they're out of your house, or they used when they were growing up? What can you hear your parents say to you that you remember repeating to your children?
In different versions, but we have, and I looked at this when I was reading through some of this stuff, whatever you want, you have to work hard to get it. It's not going to be handed to you. Don't expect it to be handed to you. You have to work for it. You have to put in the effort. You have to work. And whatever you decide you want, you can get if you're willing to work. And I've instilled the same thing in my kids. And that's exactly, it came from my parents as well.
And then one day when you're a grandparent, you're going to hear them saying the same thing. And that's what it's all about.
Doing the hokey pokey.
That's right. Glad you caught that. Okay, so your fun question is, this is cute for you. What personal trait has gotten you in the most trouble?
Well, you know a little bit about me, but saying yes. I have always been the person that says yes. So whatever comes up, you say yes, and then you figure out from there what you have said yes to or how to make it work. So a couple of years ago, that ended up with me being in a beauty pageant. I think that was probably one of the most crazy yeses that I said. So you just have to put yourself out there, though. Say yes, figure out what's going on, try it. You don't know, you might be a podcast, guru on parenting, and you're not even a parent. So who knows where that's coming from? So you have to say yes. I love that. You have to say yes and see what life gives you. But that's probably has gotten me in the most trouble, because then I go, oh, now that's what I'm doing. Okay, great.
Good for you. Good for you. Because I want to give a class on how to say no. So
I'll teach the morning, you teach the afternoon. It'll be great.
Yes. Wonderful answer. Well, Miss Bobo, I always like to ask my guests. I think you are the least anxiety ridden out of all the others who've come on here. I don't know what they expected. And I told them all, it's just you knowing you and sharing with us. A few of them have gotten on here and said, well, I don't know what other people think. We don't care what other people think. This is your child. This is your life. This is your interview. Mm-hmm. And we're just sharing who you are with the world, because they deserve, and you deserve to be applauded, you and your husband and the village, for the job that you've done, for 2 more responsible adults that are out here in the world that I'm confident I won't be around to see it. Chances are that they're going to produce 2 others or 4 others like themselves. And that's what we want to see. We want to see this ball of goodness just grow and grow and grow, so that someday, maybe again, we'll have a semblance of not just responsible adults, but human beings who actually give a hoot about one another. That's what strums my heart. And I am the ultimate optimist. I'll say that. I really believe it all can be done. And one show at a time, I'm trying to help create that.
Thank you for that.
I will see you Tuesday at Engage.
You betcha. I will be there.
Okay. Let's see. Are you coming to Thursday to IADME?
Of course.
All right. Then you know what, Ms. Bobo, I will see you on Thursday. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on here and being a welcome addition to Cozy Up and Pay Attention. Folks, thank you for viewing the show again today. If you're watching and you're enjoying it, please share it with others. If you're interested at all in being on the show, you can reach me at cozyupandpayattention@gmail.com. I am looking for and would like to have more fathers on here, just because we know there are a bunch of them that are out here doing their job. Most of the time I forget to say I have 2 books on Amazon. I'm not going to turn around and get them because they should be in front of me, but they're called Cozyisms, The Art of Paying Attention, where you can get more of my wit, my wisdom on Amazon. Cozyisms, The Art of Paying Attention. In ending, I like to say, folks, when you know better, you do better. Thank you, Christi. I'll call you in a minute.
Thank you so much.
All right.